to have this, what I can call the single objective, and also understand the framework, because sometimes we've seen a situation where monetary pronouncement halt the operations of the physical. Well, I just spoke about the 41 item. Actually, that is supposed to be in the jurisdiction of the physical authority, instead of CBN coming through the back door to ban, and they say it's just...
No, I think they said they won't access forex from the CBN.
But I said that is a technical ban, and it is within the jurisdiction of the physical authority, the Ministry of Finance, Custom, and other agencies. Are
they going to be part of any meeting whatsoever, so that you can highlight some of this to...
I believe that consultation should be going on between these two very important authorities, as not just now, but for some time now, so that we are able to address some of these challenges. Now, so what you actually mentioned is right. Physical and monetary authorities need to work together. The aim is just for economic stability. The aim is for you to boost the economy, grow the economy, and create employment and increase wealth. That is the overriding objective, whether you are in the monetary authority or whether you are in the fiscal authority.
And in all of this, do you think that we should also bring to the table the issue of interest rate?
Okay. Of course, we have to use all of the instruments to stabilize our economy. The exchange rate, interest rate, and sometimes inflation. All of them are, can I say, interwoven. Sometimes you may not achieve all of the purpose just using one framework. For instance, government at this time they want to deliver on their campaign promises. The the budget for 2016. So the need to spend more money will always happen, and if you're spending more money, it means that CBN need to complement that by maybe lowering the exchange rate, lowering the interest rate, so that money supply is boosted, and of course government is able to deliver the budgetary provisions. But then, we need to. All of this will happen in an atmosphere where no agency of government is seeing itself as a superpower. It's supposed to be complementary.
Because right now, that doesn't seem to be the case, because a lot of manufacturers seem to be shouting their heads off that, look, it's increasingly tough to become a manufacturer in this country, that the policies favor the importers, not the manufacturers. And it just appears, though, look, who's listening to them?
Unfortunately, I'm not able to roll the numbers out. But then I can tell you that over the last few years, especially over the last 1 year, we've seen a lot of manufacturers shutting down. And that is also evident in the numbers coming from government itself, from the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. The manufacturing sector in Nigeria have entered recession since first or second quarter last year. And the unfortunate part of it is that the depth of recession is increasing every quarter. By this time last year, the manufacturing sector grew minus 1.6%. The growth rate now is minus 5.something%, about 5.7%. So you can see where the depth or the pit is deepening. Something needs to be done to actually assist.
Because many would have thought, look, while the CBN is going about ensuring that we have at least a relatively stable monetary policy, they thought, on the other hand, fiscal policy operators should also be ensuring that, look, they make sure the manufacturers are complementing what the CBN is trying to do. But again, we just keep having to...
The solution is just for the two authorities to work. If it is possible to even set up an inter-agency or ministerial committee or that meets virtually every week or fortnight, that would be fine for both the agency, and because the KPI we use to measure them is not how early they arrive in the office every morning, but the impact we're seeing in the industrial sector and the impact on
So
jobs.
The economic team, this is where they're supposed to kick in.
Exactly.
And we know the kind of impact that team is having on the economy.
Exactly.
If manufacturers cannot thumb that up.
The overriding, the subject matter now is about the new, exchange rate policy, and what we're saying is that even with the little concern we have, even the one they've said, let it be judiciously implemented. We want a situation where the central bank implement this policy such that arbitrage opportunities either eliminated or reduced to the barest minimum. Speculative tendencies You know, these are the things that they need to watch, you know, and also put their feet on the ground.
Let's say
moving forward.
How does this help the banks if we're looking at some 10 banks that have been, you know, singled out in
As
this
primary
whole,
dealers.
Yes, as primary dealers. How does this help others who didn't make the list?
The guideline to be a primary dealer was laid out, so it lets for CBN to know who qualifies and who doesn't qualify. And I'm not sure if there is a timeline where you cease to be, you know, to apply. So it's for the banks that they were not left behind. It's for them to work very hard to meet the minimum requirement, because actually we want institutions that have the capacity to deliver as primary dealers to deliver this. You know, it's not something you just give every Nigerian that apply.
And the other aspects of, while they come in, the speculative tendencies which you speak about, which agencies should we be looking to ensure that, look, they just don't speculate unnecessarily, thereby making this just go topsy-turvy?
It is the central bank, and it is not just walking around and saying, are you speculating? No, it is by implementing the right framework. You cannot be everywhere at any point in time. If you create a market that favors one side and leave the other side, that is where you have challenge. You know, making sure that the exchange rate is very, or the gap is very, very tiny, so that you don't create another shadow market. You know, that is very, very important. And again, I think that the more we have primary dealers and other dealers, you know, the more the operators in number, I think the better, so that the market is robust enough.
But then, what about the fact that we've seen a lot of banks who prefer to sell forex at black market rate? Is that going to be eliminated with this market forces dependent exchange?
Well, it will be reduced, but that depends on how much the central bank also provide their searchlights. You know, and also, of course, when you listen to the speech of the central bank governor, he said it was very clear that they will not hesitate to sanction whichever institution that flouts the new regulation. And that is, I will keep on reminding the central bank about this promise, because it's actually needed to to clean up the market and also make sure that every operator play according to the rule.
Okay, so for those who want to know, how is this going to have a direct effect on the cost of goods out there?
Anyway, the first advantage is that the investors' confidence will likely resume, at least when the policies come to force actually next week, Monday. You know, so we're not going to see price reduction just next week. You know, it's not a wheel that will just drop, but over time, at least, we are going to see supply of foreign exchange increase, which means that access will become easier. And if that happens, the exchange rate will likely start dropping.
Let me also ask you, what time frame are you looking at?
Well, it will be difficult. It will be difficult to give you a time frame, but at least, you know, when investors' confidence we see the future. You know, the speculative tendencies will likely drop, and the implication is that the prices that would have gone up by next week, if this policy was not announced, will not go up again. So we've solved a lot of problems already, you know. But asking me the timeline when prices will adjust to the initial level, I will not be able to answer, but at least there is hope.
When you say investors, who are you looking at? Because there are lots of investors in this country who are also looking into the market to see what they can do. Or are you just predicating it on investors, maybe FDI?
Both local and foreign investors. There are Nigerians that have money, especially export pros. Even Nigerians in diaspora. I've spoken to some of them very recently. Even the money they are sending to their loved ones, you know, before, they can't send. The same thing, they see somebody traveling down. God, please give me. You know, they can't wire it through the official windows, because they feel that the money is heavily discounted. You know, so investors, both Nigerians and abroad, foreigners abroad, and also local investors, a lot of people still have money. You know, foreign FX right in their rooms as we speak, waiting for the right.
Do you think this policy can
price.
Bring them out
Of course,
of the shell?
Of course. Somebody that have thousands of millions of dollars, knowing that this price is going to crash from 360 to something 250 next week or 300, of course, you start selling.
But
that is the beauty of reform.
Doesn't that depend on how it closes on Monday?
Well, you can wait till Monday, you can wait till Friday, but right now, anybody holding foreign currency know that it is time to bring it out.
But the sad thing here is that we've, in a way, increased the cost of production, and we still expect inflow. How does this work?
I didn't get you.
We've kind of increased the cost of production.
Yeah.
And if you increase the cost of production, it will limit the amount of goods you want to export. So how does it work or bring about the needed gains at the end of the day?
You know, there's what they call degree of adjustment. You know, it will take some time, a little time for market to adjust. You know, but if you look at how the market celebrated this this announcement,
Don't forget, you also reminded us that some of these manufacturers have even left the country.
Yeah, but not all of them. Some people will never leave because they. Yeah, some people will never leave because for you to be a manufacturer, there are a lot of some costs that you cannot just take away when you are running away. You are not a portfolio investor. That is what you have to realize. The plant, the factory, everything is there, and some of them, their key raw materials are still available in Nigeria, but it's just something to add to make to change this raw material to finished goods is what is missing. So many of them will never leave. And why would they leave completely when the market is there? You know, one thing we have and we'll keep on having is that there is market in Nigeria. And that is why investors will always be on the sideline or on the fence waiting for the right reform to happen and for them to resume their activities.
Well, as you say, so if anyone's got any currency they'd locked up somewhere, this is the time to bring it out. Dr. Vincent Nwani is the Director of Research and Advocacy for Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you very much.
Well, we're back in just a moment to revisit a matter that is also out there, and that will be when we return. Join us again.